What's your name?
My name is Evan Pham. Being held here against my will. Don't come to Alaska.
Right, we'll get you a newspaper to hold up for the camera. Where are you from?
Oregon.
What part of Oregon?
Portland area, Beaverton.
Cool. And what kind of experience do you have in healthcare?
I've had a bit of shadowing in ORs.
So you're pre-med then?
Yeah, studying pre-medical.
Cool. And what did you expect from the RIIN program before you got here?
Definitely didn't expect Alaska to be so much like Oregon in the summer, I guess. It's like, the weather, the nature. But yeah, there's definitely some differences that I enjoyed, and yeah, I definitely imagined kind of more of a huge, cold wasteland.
A lot of people have that impression. So where did you go to do your rural shadowing?
I went to Soldotna.
And you were in a hospital, Central Peninsula Hospital?
Yeah.
Was that very different from where you've been before, or is it very similar?
It was actually pretty similar, but there were some noticeable differences, like, the kind of people that came in, how busy the physicians were, their interactions with their patients. They got a lot more time. They were able to be a lot more personal, have a very nice touch with each and every one of their patients, I thought.
So what did you get to see while you were there?
I spent a lot of time in the OR, but I actually had a good balance of clinical time seeing patients, and that was really nice. Got to ask the physicians a lot more questions outside of the OR.
Did you have any free time while you were in Soldotna not doing job shadowing? Did you get to do anything?
Yeah, on the weekend it was a bit difficult with transportation, but I think I made the most of what I got, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, great. So before you went out to Soldotna, we had about 4 days or so in Anchorage, and then about 4 days down in Seward. Were there any particular highlights from that part of the trip that stand out in your mind?
I think the hike was definitely really fun. Yeah, it was really great to see all the nature. Reminded me of Oregon, but except it's not nearly as crowded, so that's a huge plus in my opinion. It's just a beautiful place to escape.
This is the hike all the way up to the Harding ice field, right?
Yeah.
Probably don't see that much of that in Oregon.
Yeah, don't see any glaciers over there, so.
Great. Did get to see some marmots. Remember that.
Oh yeah, wildlife was awesome to see, just so up close and everything.
Got a moose.
Oh yeah, moose, definitely.
So what are your plans for the future?
I was debating between medical school and PA school, and I've always found myself drawn to surgery, so that's what I got here in terms of my shadowing experience, is a lot of time in surgery, and that has led me to become more sided with the PA route, actually, yeah.
And do you have any advice for future RIIN students? Things people need to bring with them, or things they need to think about before they come?
I'm probably not the best person to ask because I wasn't sent to one of the more rural sites. If you want a really rural experience, I wouldn't recommend Soldotna, but if you still, it's still a great experience nonetheless. But yeah, just come with an open mind, good attitude, and be enthusiastic and ready to learn.
Great. So what's your name?
I'm Rachel Redcap.
And where are you from?
I am originally born and raised Salem, Oregon, and I go to Oregon State University down in Corvallis, Oregon.
Cool. So Salem, would you say that's an urban center or suburban? Or?
I would say Salem itself is very urban. I do live on the outskirts, so I would consider where I live suburban, but definitely where all medical care and the hub of everything where I live is very urban.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So how did you hear about the RIIN program?
So I am in biohealth sciences at Oregon State, and my advisor sends out this newsletter every week, and it just happened to be in the newsletter, and I typically hadn't read those, but for some reason I read this one newsletter, and at the bottom of this was this article about RIIN, and I was like, what is this? And so I read it, and that night I applied. no thought to it. I saw it and I did it.
Great.
So yeah.
And did it turn out to be more or less what you expected?
It was way more than what I had expected. I honestly didn't come in with, I didn't know what to expect when I read about the program. It sounded like a great opportunity and I knew I wanted to be a part of it. So I came in with a very open mind, and my mind was fulfilled with lots and lots and lots of information, and it was the most amazing experience I have had in a very, very, very long time.
Great. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
So you have healthcare experience already before you got here?
Yes. So I had done previous other job shadows, mainly in large hospital settings. Salem Hospital is actually certified I'll probably get this wrong, but a trauma 2 hospital. But I have shadowed in smaller hospitals, but I have some clinical experience through job shadowing.
And what's your specialty?
Pharmacy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So where did you go for your rural visit while you were here?
So I was in Soldotna for 3 days, and then I was down in Homer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you do?
So in Soldotna, I was in oncology, and so I watched a lot of infusions, blood transfusions, kind of the administration side of medication, and really how providers worked together to make sure care was best administered to all the patients. All the patients were known by name without having to look at a chart, even though Soldotna is a larger city considered here in Alaska. It was still very a small town feel to me in the oncology unit. When I was down in Homer, I actually shadowed a pharmacist in a family pharmacy. It was him, his wife, and 3 other technicians, and they pretty much catered to a large percentage of Homer's prescription filling need. They were very customer service oriented. They made sure the individuals had the medications they needed. If they didn't have them on hand, they assured the patients that they would be there the next day because they would order them that evening. And they just worked with the patients to really make sure that they could get the medications that they needed for a price that they could afford.
Great.
Yeah.
So when you first arrived here in Alaska, we had about 4 days or so in Anchorage, and then another 4 days down in Seward.
Yeah.
Was there any particular highlight of that period that stands out in your mind?
Well, I mean, I really love the outdoors, and so I love the Seward trip and seeing all of the wildlife, and doing the fjords tour was very, very interesting to me. I think, though, that being in Anchorage and getting the cultural understanding of Alaska was very beneficial, because even though I went to a more city area, I still noticed a lot of that cultural impact in healthcare that was talked about through the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, and I try to remember it, and also through the telehealth and just all the cultural experiences that we saw at the cultural center and all of those presentations that we got.
Yeah, we had a brief visit. One day we went out to the Alaska Native Heritage Center. Got to see some of the old traditional styles of Alaska Native health. Is that also helpful?
I felt that having a background in culture was very helpful. Even though it was the historical culture, I still felt that that played a role in how I experienced my rural site, because they had a lot more of alternative medicine, and especially being in the pharmacy, there was a lot of essential oils, and I feel that that went back to the cultural living off the land and making do with what you had. So the alternative medicine piece really tied into the cultural aspect.
So what are your plans for the future?
So my plans for the future are, I'm currently applying to pharmacy school. First choice is Oregon State. I did my undergraduate, I'm finishing my undergraduate there, so it's kind of home for me. So hopefully, after the very long process of pharmacy school, to be working in a hospital setting. Now, I personally don't want to be in a large hospital, even as large of a hospital that's in my hometown of Salem. This experience has been really eye-opening, and even though it's not extremely rural, you still get a smaller town feel in the hospitals down here or up here compared to where I'm at. So I still feel that even if I'm in a hospital, I can still get that experience of rural medicine, and I do feel that I could end up here in Alaska one day practicing. So, yeah.
Nice. Do you have any advice for future RIN students?
I would just say come with a very, very open mind, because that's how I came, and I feel like I got a lot out of this program, and just being willing to learn is very important to be successful up here.
Great.
Yeah.
So, any last words?
No, just thank you to all of you guys, because you've definitely gone above and beyond for all of us, so thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Oh, I'm Jackie Jordan.
And where are you from?
I am from Lehighton, Pennsylvania.
Okay, and had you had any healthcare experience before coming out here to Alaska?
I have, but more so in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so a big city healthcare.
So what did you do?
I've worked in hospitals before, so kind of a little outside of Philly and inside of Philly, both in Drexel and Einstein. Just shadowed in different departments, emergency, OB, things like that. So kind of a little bit of everything.
So how big is that hospital?
God, I mean, Drexel and Einstein, they have multiple hospital locations. They're big. They're very big hospitals. I couldn't tell you the number of beds, but they're huge. Yeah.
So where was your rural site?
I I did both Homer and I did Seldovia, which is very close to Homer.
It's about 18 miles away.
Yeah,
It's across the bay.
Yep, and you had to take a ferry to get to Seldovia. A couple roads in Seldovia, it's not big. It's only accessible by air or water.
So what were you doing there?
So I shadowed for a day at their clinic. So they have the Seldovia Village Tribe Clinic. And I followed a nurse practitioner as she treated patients. And then I also spent the night helping and participating in a women's gathering because the community there is very tight-knit and very involved with each other and their health. So I was able to experience that, which was really cool. And then I also, the next day, actually helped out at their health fair. So that each year they have a health fair through the SVT clinic, and just to help people, get more people involved with their health and more aware of their health. And it was really cool. There was a lot of different people from Homer and from Seldovia in the clinic. So
was the whole experience more or less what you expected, or did it kind of catch you by surprise?
In Seldovia, it definitely caught me by surprise. I didn't realize it was that small, first of all, and then how difficult it was to sort of get people the care they needed. There's a lot of planning involved that I noticed behind things that, back home, it's okay, we're just going to do this. But there it's okay, well, now we need to plan in advance because you have to go to Anchorage for this. Or, I remember the nurse practitioner had to actually call somebody and do a consult while they were on a fishing boat, because fishing was such a huge part of their lifestyle there that they had to actually do the consult on the boat because it wasn't going to work out that they could come into the clinic. So it was pretty interesting to see how they kind of had to work around a lot of different obstacles to get the care that people needed. So that took me by surprise, but before coming into it, I didn't even think about it as an issue being so rural. I never realized they would have to take that many steps to get the help they needed.
Okay. And before you went out to the rural site, we had about a week in Anchorage and then some time down in Seward. We did a cruise. We did the hike up the mountain to the exit glacier in the Harding ice field. Would you consider that to be a highlight of the program? Or?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially the cruise that we did, the conservation center that we went to, and then the hike, they were amazing. They're probably one of some of the most memorable times I've had from this trip. I've been telling everybody about them and how amazing. It's given me a good impression of Alaska outside of the healthcare spectrum, I would say. It just, what it's like to live up here, what kinds of things there are to do up here, I like being able to sort of see how the people who live here, maybe the things that they're interested in, and meeting people at these different places we've gone to, and these experiences we've had. It's been very interesting.
Yeah, before we actually went down to Seward, we visited the Alaska Native Heritage Center, which is kind of an overview of a lot of Alaskan Native cultures. Would you say that was helpful when you got down to the rural site?
Oh, yeah, definitely, because before I came here, I didn't know anything about Alaskan Native culture. So just learning about it in general was very interesting. And then learning about the different like lineages and heritage within each, within Alaskan Native as an overview was also very helpful. I felt like I could kind of connect the way each sort of different one could interact with healthcare professionals. You know, we learned about how that's what one of the big issues is that it's hard to necessarily understand what their culture is like when you're trying to treat a patient in the healthcare field. So I think getting a background in the Alaska Native culture when I personally didn't know anything about them at all was very helpful, because now I can sort of see, you know, in my rural placement and stuff, oh, well, that's why they're doing something this way, or that's why, you know, this approach has to be taken, or, you know, these means have to be followed because, you know, this is what the culture is like and this is the best way to go about, you know, healthcare within the Alaska Native culture. So I definitely say the Heritage Center was super helpful. It was very interesting, and I think we learned a lot of different customs and different, you know, traditions that I would have never known about before.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah.
So what are your plans for the future?
So right now I'm actually applying to medical school, and I'm hoping that I can, you know, attend medical school, become a physician, and I would definitely be interested in rural medicine and, you know, working on how to eliminate some of maybe the disparities that exist within rural medicine or exist within, you know, healthcare in general.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for future RIN students?
I think I would say, if anything, really pay attention to the people that you meet and the lessons that you're going to learn from the people. It may not seem like, you know, there's a lesson behind it, or there's, you know, maybe you're doing something fun, but take what they tell you and take what you're learning and really apply it to, especially when you go to your rural site, because it's going to definitely make a difference for you to understand and to really get as much as you possibly can out of your rural experience.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.